I think accolades are just heavily skewed. It doesn't always give us the accurate depiction, and I tend to look at MVP votes because I think some people, um, I don't think Mars is the first person I've heard do it, but like I think MVP votes are a much better depiction of like who's the best player on a year to year basis. But even then, it's kind of flawed. Obviously, narratives and what people deem as valuable will fluctuate on a year to year basis, depending on like how good you may be in contrast to your team success. So that's also kind of up in the air. But I just feel like sitting there saying that like Bird has three MVPs, especially in a row, and somehow like that right there is a talking point to why he should be a top 10 player. And it's like, well, not only does everybody in the not only does everybody in the top 10 have at bare minimum a MVP, but I don't think that anyone would sit here and believe that Kobe's one MVP is an accurate depiction of who he is as a ball player. And I would argue everybody in the top 10 have had three consecutive MVP seasons in a row. So that's also like, it's just not like, it doesn't give you an accurate depiction. And I think it's way better to just look at the play, look at how they impacted, what they did in contrast to the rest of the league, not necessarily winning an MVP or being all defensive team or all NBA selection. Especially the people who, because I saw the same thing with Curry and Magic, like, oh man, Magic made more first team all NBAs. And it's like, yeah, but he played in an era where like there were no other all time guards throughout the 80s outside of him and towards I guess Isaiah Thomas, but I think even then Isaiah Thomas at his best isn't as good as like Russell Westbrook and James Harden at their best. So then it's like that doesn't necessarily mean that because Magic made more first team all NBAs in contrast to
You
Curry.
said Isaiah Thomas is at his peak is not as good as Russell Westbrook. I just want
Um, no,
He's not.
that's a whole. We've had that discussion on Open Gym a few weeks ago.
to. Okay.
Also, correct me if I'm wrong. I'm pretty sure all NBAs and all defense in the 80s was position locked. Like it was point guard, shooting guard, small forward, power forward, center.
I think a lot of I think a lot of voters voted that way, but I don't think it was like officially position lock. If that makes sense.
Okay, it wasn't like a rule, but it was like they tried.
Yeah, they just tried to.
Okay.
And so, but that'll be another reason to why like Curry is not only going up against like I think voters have been more open with the idea of voting, obviously two shooting guards if that's what it actually is, or 2 point guards if that's what that means, are the two best guards, and then as we know, like players like Jimmy Butler get the ability to present themselves as guards and forwards. So like the game has just changed and voting has changed as well. That's another reason why. But I mean, I obviously like. Patrick Ewing, I think Patrick Ewing has like, and this is the reason why I know Mars isn't the first person to bring it up because I've labeled it as like the Patrick Ewing problem, where like, there's a year where I think in '94 Patrick Ewing finished top 5 in the MVP race, but he didn't make an All NBA team because he's competing against Shaq, David Robinson, and Hakeem Olajuwon. So things like that, like obviously like.
So what are you? Well, Lo, what are you judging off of? Because I hear what you say, like watching it and seeing the impact. To me, that sounds real eye test like. So what exactly are you using? Any kind of metrics, or are you saying statistics are a better way of what is the determining factor for you then?
Or are you just saying like should it be
I didn't even know
accolades,
John
or
was
you should look at
backstage.
accolades, but you should take the context in them?
Big bird.
Because at the end of the day, I'm
going on right now?
having
The fact that
This
he
is-
actually
this-
looked
this
like
is
that
all
nigga
over
is hilarious.
This is a rated R show today. I'm not gonna hold you. Go ahead, Damo. Do your thing, bro.
Dub, take like 5 minutes. Take just 5 minutes.
We got a whole row.
Dom
We
was
got a whole
bringing it
row of
up,
loads. Look at it.
all right.
No,
Excellent
real talk. I
Oh.
grew up with a brother,
Whole
bro.
row of loads.
I grew up with a brother. We had arguments like this all the time, bro. We had fights all the time.
Oh, me too.
Yeah, I think
Trust me.
Trust me.
Yeah,
I mean, it'll probably probably like 2 or 3 minutes is probably gonna be. Not
Yeah,
even gonna
that's how it be.
But go ahead, Lo. What
Go ahead.
was your answer to that question though?
How do I determine essentially like the impact of a player? Intellect. No.
Oh, my.
No, I think that I think you can just like look across NBA history and see what the standard is for like an all NBA caliber player is, and especially in contrast to what's happening in the league. And so there's years where Ewing is averaging like borderline 25, 10, and 3, and he doesn't make an all NBA team. But I think anybody with like any any like brain would easily identify that if a man is giving you 25 and 10 on above league average efficiency while being an elite level defender, that checks off like all of the boxes for.
I mean, that's you can say that for AD this year. AD didn't make a All NBA team.
I agree, but so it would be crazy if we don't. I mean, I guess AD because of games played.
The games played, but still that level of play, he was
exactly. So it would be crazy to not identify Anthony Davis as a All NBA caliber player just because he didn't make an All NBA team. If that makes sense.
So you're saying,
but again, I'm asking, is it a culmination of things? Is it statistics, eye tests?
I mean, the more you can watch, the better. But I mean, yeah, obviously, like if there's some level of statistics that come along with it, like if somebody is like one of the league's best scorers, while also providing also above league average, also a great defender, like those two combinations alone normally is enough for that to be like a, that is enough to.
It's good to watch you turn into an eye test, nigga. Lo, I'm actually.
Oh my god!
It's actually amazing. I'm like into tears just watching.
The more I watch Steve Nash, the more I think he's just better offensively than Kobe.
Oh my god!
I want to get something clear. I want to get something clear from you. So you're not? It sounds like you're not going as far as like Mars, where you say accolades have no value, but you think they should definitely be used with the proper context and determining their value for a specific player. Using them as blanket statements to say someone is better is just inappropriate. Does that sound right?
No, they don't have that much value. I mean, they have value, I guess, but they don't have that much value. I think they can
He'll be on the right side soon.
They'll give you some indication of like what's going on a year-to-year basis, but like they're not going to be like very clear indicators. They're not going to be end-all be-alls to like why. You know what I'm saying? Like why?
Right. You can add the context because they still hold a benchmark of a caliber of player. Because MVP caliber is a thing, obviously, but you need to know those players that are at that level to kind of judge them appropriately. You need the context. But so they hold a value. So I think they do hold a value. But you're just saying that just using it blanketly is just, hey, man.
Well, that, but then also like, I remember we was like maybe a week ago, we were talking about like all defensive teams as a forwards. And then we were like looking at like who's Larry Bird's competition was. And I'm just looking at these players. I'm like, bro, not only do I not know any of these players, they're not on some of the league's best defenses. They're like, there's nothing that would indicate so they don't lead the league in like any defensive statistics. There's nothing that indicates to me that those players defensively are even anywhere near close to like Bruce Bowen, Tim Duncan, Ron Artest. Like there's like absolutely nothing. And so when we're having this conversation about like, oh, Larry Bird made all like 3 all defensive teams, there is a very realistic possibility that if he just played in a different era, that he probably didn't. And there's a possibility that, and I have to just watch more Larry, that he might not have ever played at an all defensive league level. He just made the team because the era was so weak at the 4 position defensively. That is a very real possibility. The same way that I don't think DeAndre Jordan ever played at an all NBA level.
Yeah,
he made the All NBA team because he played in an era where they're like defensively, like not defensively. The center position was so trash that he could make all defensive team. All NBA team. But I don't think he as a player ever played at that level. But like when I go back and relook at it, like him making it, and people are gonna be upset at me. But like even like Marc Gasol making it some of those years, I'm like,
Rudy Gobert.
Not Gasol.
Oh, and Joakim Noah as well. Like I don't know if those players are like out of 99% in NBA history, like they don't make an All NBA team, but they can make it within like between 2010 and 2015. But I don't think that by default that means that they're just as good as some of these other players.
It's the player choice way. Yeah, them boys don't get it started. The player choice way. You're the player choice way. Come and switch lanes into the player choice way.